Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in for another very exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. If you're joining us for the first time, and quite a few of you are, including our speaker today, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And I'm so excited you're joining us today because a few months ago, I talked with Callie Brada. She has come on our broadcast like 10 times, one of our very favorite people, and she said, Jesse, have you ever talked to the Oncafari people joining in Brazil? I said, no, I have no idea who they are, but we'd love to have them on. So I talked with Lily, who's going to join us in a second. And Lily is one of the very few people in the world who has more energy than I do. She is all about education, conservation, all sorts of great stuff. And today we are going to do back-to-back broadcasts with their amazing organization, starting right now with Jaguars, which don't tell the lions and the tigers, but are the best cat in the whole world. And we're going to find out more about that. And then right after, we're going to talk about tapirs, which a lot of you might not even know about tapirs, but tapirs are one of my favorite animals in the whole world. When I used to go to the Toronto Zoo as a boy and volunteer there, they were my favorite thing to see. So you guys are in for a real treat if you join us for both. And as always, they will all be on our YouTube channel. Now, before I turn it over to Lily, I want to note we do have a Kahoot today. So between our talk and our Q&A, if you want to test your Jaguar knowledge and have some fun, you can pull up this game pin below, and I will put that in the chat in just a second. But without further ado, joining us in the Pantanal, the world's largest wetland in Brazil, Lily, thank you so much for joining us and take us away on a big cat journey. Hi.
Hey, Jesse, thank you so much for the space, my friend. Thank you all for being watching. Today we're going to learn cool stuff about jaguars and tapirs.
They are the best. Now, I know you've got a lot to share with us. If you want to bring up your conversation and take us away, let's do this thing.
Oh, nice, Jess. Thank you so much. Can you see my screen?
We are golden. Yes, couldn't be better. Look at that big cat.
Oh, this is Fera, one of my favorite cats that we have here. So nice to meet you, everybody. I'm Lily. I am a biologist. I am a Brazilian biologist for the past 20 years. And today I want to share a little bit of the knowledge that I acquired here in the Pantanal. I'm not gonna talk too much about Pantanal. I'm gonna leave this Pantanal landscape for Diogo, which will be the next presenter. And today we're gonna talk about Jaguars and this amazing organization that I've been part for the past 14 years, which is called Oncafari. This very awkward letter right here, there's a S sound. So let me just explain why we call Oncafari. Safari with an S, I bet everybody already listened this word, means journey. It's actually a Swahili word for journey. And onça in Portuguese means jaguar. And we do use this little funny letter that you don't use. But basically, it's a journey that we invite people to know a little bit more about this very elusive cat, okay? So Oncafari is a non-profit organization, and we exist for about 14 years here in the Pantanal, but we are already spread all over Brazil, not study only jaguars, but other animals as well. And in the beginning of the idea, we come up with the idea of study the jaguars, the onças, because they were getting extinct, my friends. Jaguars have been facing threats all over the sides, you know. Back in the 70s, the worst problem were the skin marketing. People used to find super fancy to wear a coat made of jaguar skin. I'm never going to get that. But people used to find very, very fancy, and they killed several jaguars in order to feed the fashion marketing, you know. Thank God this thing is not a thing anymore. It stopped. So the fur marketing stopped, at least for jaguars. But jaguars are still facing some threats. And although it's forbidden to hunt any kind of wild animal here in Brazil since 1967, people are still doing for all the reasons that you can imagine, including trafficking. Trafficking is a big thing in Brazil and in other places as well. People use parts of jaguars as a lucky charm or as a powers, like medicinal powers that nobody ever proved before, but unfortunately people are using several parts of jaguars for trafficking, which is awful. Jaguars are also disappearing because of deforestation. As you know, our world's supposed to have much more forest than we found right now, and the huge plantations and monocultures are bad for jaguars. Soybean plantation and sugarcane plantation and goes on and on. It's bad for jaguars. There's zero attraction in a place that was completely that there's no forest anymore. You can find food, you can find shelter, you can find water, you can find boyfriends and girlfriends if you are a jaguar and you are walking in a monoculture. So the deforestation is also a huge problem on jaguar's life. The burning season is also a problem. You probably know our planet is so much heater than used to be in the past, and the whole world is facing burning seasons. And Pantanal, believe or not, this huge wetland is also suffering with burnings as well because it's too dry. And all the animals suffers with burnings, also jaguars, okay? Brazil is a huge country. You probably saw my country in the map, and we are talking about this huge country, and it's all cutted by roads. And jaguars, they must circulate, right? They need to go to from dot A to dot B. And the problem is that when they have this decision, sometimes there is a road cutting one forest to the other forest, and then road kills, not a rare thing to do. So I'm bringing all the threats so you can understand how precious and how important it is to study this species. And this species is extremely important. They are in the top of the food chain. As Jesse said, is also one of my favorite cats as well. They are the controller of the biomass, they are in the top of the food chain. So they do this controlling, and they eat everything that you can imagine. Quaddy, armadillos, caimans, snakes, it's part of their diet. They need to eat meat in order to survive. And by doing that, they also discover a thing that it's also bad for them, which is the livestock, because they realize that cows and calves also can be part of their diet, right? And every time that a jaguar decides to kill and eat a cow or a calf, somebody loses money. After all, cattle ranching is a huge source of of our economy, And that's a problem because every time that a jaguar kills a cow, somebody gets really, really angry because they lose money. And then they hire a person to kill a jaguar. So you saw several problems that jaguars are facing, right? And having this on our minds, we come up with this Oncafari idea, which is basically show to people that jaguars can be valuable, much more valuable alive than dead. And to show that, I'm going to show you a map, and you will realize how endangered they are. Jaguars are the third largest cat from all the Americas. Okay, they are the biggest cat from Americas, and they are the third largest cat in the world. They only lose for tigers and lions. Okay, they used to occur where you are seeing the map by the lighted green area. So if you look the map, you're gonna see the south of the United States until the side of Argentina. This all used to be jaguar land. But now, these days, you only can find jaguars where you are seeing the darker green area, which means that they are losing their territory for our activities and for all the threats that I showed to you. But if I bring Brazil close, and that's the shape of Brazil, for those that doesn't know, that's the shape of my country, Brazil. We are divided in different kind of biomes, okay? The different kind of landscapes representing the different colors. You can see that they are also really, really threat. You only can find jaguars in Brazil where you can find the darker areas, okay? Which means that they were completely gone. They were extinct in the south of the country. You don't have one single individual in the south of the country. Same thing happened in Atlantic forest where they are super, super critically endangered. So Brazil carry around 50% of the jaguars remain in the world, which means that we have a huge responsibility in our shoulders. And that's why we follow the idea that our South African friends had more than 40 years ago. Basically, they come up with this idea that is called habituation. Habituation is get one animal very used to the presence of the person or the vehicle, and it's a very neutral relationship. The animal doesn't receive anything good or bad for us, but the animals start to see us as part of the landscape. They see us as a tree, as a rock, and that's exactly what you are seeing in this picture. You can see this huge elephant that could easily put down the vehicle full of people, but he's not interested because he's habituated. He is very used to the presence of this vehicle, just observing them respectfully. So our fellow friends from Africa, they had this idea and they apply with elephants. They also apply with leopards, with hyenas, with cheetahs, with all the kind of animals that you can imagine. And then we decided to do the same, okay? 14 years ago, we had the same idea. And you are probably wondering, what is this cat doing in the middle of the forest? The thing is, we had to find the cats, right? And we are talking about a very, very elusive cat, which is the Jaguar. So we start to work with this equipment right here in my hand that it's called camera trap. Camera traps are the best spies in the woods. You spread several traps just like this in the woods, and they will film everything that moves because it has movements and heat sensors. So everything that moves will have the image caught on the camera. So through the camera traps, we start to see where were the Jaguars, which were their favorite spots, and most important, how we could identify the Jaguars. And I'm showing this picture right now, and you are probably wondering, okay, you have 6 Jaguars here, but it's not 6 Jaguars. I have 5 Jaguars here, just 5. Jaguars, you can recognize them through the pattern in their skin, through their spots, and through the rosettes. So if you look closely in the forehead of each individual right here, you're gonna find a match. You're gonna find one pair, and that's the pair right here, Aroeira. Look closely in the forehead and you're gonna see the exactly same draw. What I'm trying to say is that even if a Jaguar has a twin brother or a twin sister, they're still gonna be completely different. So initially you have to find the difference between the Jaguars and see how many individuals used to live here and how many individuals used to just pass here. And then we start to habituate them. But it was a challenging because people used to say to us, you're going to study Jaguars. You have to work hard during the night because Jaguars are nocturnal animals. So we got very addicted to lollipops and guns to stay awake during the night because we thought that they only walk in the night. Because again, they are a cat that is very least studied. You know, people don't understand about them. They don't spend so much time with them. And then we start to see Jaguars during the day as well, regularly. Every day we start to see Jaguars during the day. And then he said, okay, they're not that nocturnal as we think that they were. And then we start to habituate them. We also use this tool in my hand as a tool, which is called radio collared. So some of the Jaguars that we have here wear radio collar. That looks ugly, looks heavy, but it's a Jaguar best friend. Because not only show us the exact location of the animal, but it's also gonna make hunters think twice before shoot them because hunters know that there's GPS technology involved. So I always say that radio collars works as guardian angels here in the Pantanal in the Jaguar's neck. So as you can see in the picture, we were seeing them. We are habituating them. We are getting them get used to our vehicle. Can you imagine here in this picture, you have 4 vehicles, right? 1, 2, 3 of guests seeing Jaguars and showing that ecotourism can be available. And there's a 4th vehicle taking the picture as well. So habituation was going super, super well. And we were able to not only show that they are available, but also study their ecology and their biology. Because after all, this was a mystery. Nobody knows nothing about Jaguars back then. And then you discover several things that I'm about to share with you. First of all, they are very elusive creatures because they can camouflage really, really well in the woods. So here you are saying Juju. We named all the Jaguars here, although we don't have a relationship, we named them. So that's Juju in the bushes just looking at us. So sometimes I go to the field, I don't find any Jaguars, but I promise you they saw me because they can be very, very well camouflated in the bushes. But they also don't have predators, which means that they can walk in open fields, wide open field in the middle of the day, very fearless because after all, they are very, very confident animals. And we could see them also in open field as well. They also are great swimmers. They know how to swim. They use the tail a lot to indicate the direction during their swimming. And they also can hold their breath under the water for a couple of seconds and even a minute, which was great. We didn't know that as well. They also climb trees. So I'm basically talking about a machine, right? They can hide, they can run, they can walk, they can climb trees, they can swim, they do everything that they want. The only thing that I never saw in my life, in 20 years that I work with animals, I never saw a jaguar fly. So I think this they leave this for the birds, for their friends from the forest, the birds. So now I'm gonna share with you some cool facts about their biology and their ecology that we learn through the habituation. Here we are seeing in Nusa, a very, 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 very pregnant jaguar. Can you see the abdomen region, the belly? She's so swallow, which means that she's pregnant. So a jaguar becomes pregnant starting to 3 years old, a female, okay? And then she becomes pregnant for 3 months, just like you're kidding. 3 months of gestation. And then when she's about to give birth, she chooses a place, which we call den or shelter. This shelter is a very safe place, and the mom needs to choose very, very, very carefully. Here we have some examples of different kind of den. For those that thinks that it's a rule, no, there's no rule. A mom choose what she wants to choose. So if you see the shelter with one cub, it was a very old armadillo hole, abandoned hole. And then the mother jaguar discovered that abandoned hole, and then she kept the cub over there. This is really cool. And then you see the picture below, which was a very, very tall grass, an open field with very tall grass. And this female, she create tunnels and she put the two cubs over there, and then she raised the cubs over there. And then there's a third den over there. When you see three cubs, they can have 1 to 3 cubs. And then she had these cubs in this other different shelter full of dense vegetation. So the mom will choose the den according to her experience, okay? And she can have 1, 2, or even 3 cubs in the wild. Sometimes all of them survived, sometimes not all of them survived. And then for 3 months, she's gonna keep the cubs very, very, very well protected in the place. Sometimes she's gonna do a little migration with the cubs just to spread the smells away, because the cub smell might attract some predators. So she wants to keep them away. And she does these little migrations, but in general, she kept for 3 months. And then after 3 months, she's ready to show the cubs to our team. And that's the beauty that you see. A mom taking care really, really well of this cub that now is vulnerable. Now the mom will defend this cub with her own life sometimes. And what you're seeing on Surya's neck is actually the collar that allow us to get closer and to study the behavior. And then the mom will teach important lessons. The thing that you are seeing that looks super cute, and it is cute, it is super cute, it is a playful behavior. Actually, Dakari, which is this cub, is testing her skills, her hunting skills. After all, she's gonna become a big predator in a couple of years, you know, like in 1 year, she's going to look for her own prey and hunt her own prey. So she needs to test these skills, and that's a job for the mom. And I'm sorry to tell you, but if you want to raise a cub, it will be just the mom. The dad doesn't help with anything. It's exclusive job for a mom. And mom needs to teach everything, my friends. See, look how tall she's this tree. And the mom is climbing down. That's Fera climbing down. And then the cub that is right there needs to hurry up to follow the mom. And see how it learns, you know. The cub learns how to behave like the mom, just copying the behavior. So if the mom is showing fear for something, the cub will also show fear for something. If the mom is comfortable, the cub will be comfortable, and goes on and on. And also, this also happened in the water as well. Remember that I told you that they can swim long distance. Sometimes jaguars cross very wide rivers. They need to know how to swim. And a good way to show to your cub how to swim is drowning them. Can you imagine? Here you're gonna see Aracy drowning Jacy, like putting her head down, like inside the water. So Jacy needs to learn how to hold her breath. See, it looks cruelty, but it's not, I promise. It's just a mother jaguar being a mother jaguar. Don't judge her. But she is indeed drowning the cub. Also, remember, we are talking about hunters. We are talking about predators. They need to learn how to find, chase, kill, and eat her own prey. But sometimes, most of times, the mom will kill a prey and will offer the prey already dead for the cub. And that's the kind of thing that happens. Here you are seeing Dakari making herself familiar with the prey, you know. The prey is a southern anteater, and Dakari is, trying to know this prey better. She's exposing her claws, she's biting, she's feeling the blood, feeling the hair, she's getting know the prey better. And this is all part of the wildlife of the jaguars. If a jaguar baby wants to succeed, they need to learn how to become inside of the prey universe, until it gets one point that they can hunt for themselves. This is Leventina showing very proud the snake that she not only found, but she chased, she killed, and then she's over there eating, transporting, and eating the prey. And most important, she knew that it was a poisonous snake. There was no poisonous. So this is all lessons that exclusively the mom teach. And then, my friends, these cubs will stay with the mom for a while. You must be thinking, for how long, Lily? And it's curious because if you are a baby boy jaguar, you will stay with your mom for 1 month, 1 year and 2 months, okay? 1 year and 2 months, 3 at the top. If you are a baby girl jaguar, you're gonna stay with your mom for 1.5 years. And why is that, Lily? Because males need to disperse. They need to find their own territories. They need to find their own girlfriends away from the place where they can find the mom and the sister. They need to disperse. Female doesn't need to disperse. They can stay close. So for 1.5 years, the mom will take care of this baby the whole time. But then once the jaguar is already grown and alone, it will need to survive and thrive. Here you can see a fight between 2 females from one territory, okay? That's the kind of relationship that we see. Several displays of who is the boss, okay? This is crucial, and a mom needs to prepare the cub for this stage. They also need to learn how to talk like a jaguar. See? This sound is called roaring. And a jaguar needs to roar. They need to talk like a jaguar. And this also, it's a thing that they learn with the mom, When you are a kid and you are talking mama, dada, is the same. The mom needs to teach the cub how to vocalize. So when they are already full grown, they can vocalize and they can communicate. They also need to learn how to mark their own territory. Everything is chemistry in the wild, It's all about smells. It's all about pheromones. And things that you are seeing here, it's Tupã spraying his own urine on the vegetation, saying, I'm the boss, I'm the owner of this land. This is also a crucial lesson that jaguars need to learn. And they do this using urine, but they also can use that using poop, using feces. If you think that a feces from a jaguar is just a feces, you are wrong. That in that feces, there's a lot of smells full of hormones saying, I'm the boss here. I'm the one that is owning this place, okay? And they also have glands spread all over the body. They have glands on the cheeks, on the chin, between the fingers, very close to the belly. Anyway, they have glands all over the place. So one thing that they do a lot is the same thing that your kidding is doing with you. They rubs their body against you. The kidding is basically saying, you are my territory. And basically that's the thing that Zico is doing. He's just leaving his smells all over the tree saying, I'm the boss here, all marking territory. This is another display, very, very cool, that I'm really glad to share with you, which is a female rubbing her glands on a very, very tight branch, very, very tall branch, okay? Basically, the message that she's passing is, I'm the boss here and I'm taller than you. And you can see the second jaguar just looking, zero dominant, just waiting for this jaguar shows this display. So we learned cool stuff here. Also, males fighting to get the female attention. Here you have Sombra and Felino fighting for a female attention. Things can get ugly, my friends. Things can get very, very ugly. See? Blood on the nose. But remember that I said to you that it's a very, very elusive cat, and we are still learning their behavior. Everything that I told you about territory and all. Look how crazy is this. This is a couple. This is actually two males, Divino and Timburé, just being very, very cuddling. They're licking each other. They are also very, very tenderness, showing tenderness with each other. And they are two adult males. Why they are behaving like this? Because Mother Nature does that, my friends. We have information of GPS points from their color. This is a map from the place that I work. And every little different color that you're gonna see, it's a jaguar moving, okay? And if you watch closely this map, you will see that they will overlap a lot their territory. They will share resources sometimes. They will not fight sometimes. So basically what I'm doing here, my friends, is confusing your minds. Look at this. 5 jaguars eating one same carcass. Crazy, right? So the only reason why we know all this stuff is because we are working with very well habituated jaguars here. We are proving that ecotourism bring valuable stuff for a jaguar. We are showing that people need to learn the value of a jaguar. You know, they are not only super important in the whole environmental as being the top of the food chain, but they also can add value to a whole country and to a whole place, the way that jaguars are doing right here. And the things that I was able to show to you and to share with you today was only possible because the jaguars accept us really well in this area. Thank you so much for your attention. I don't know if I missed the time.
You're great, Lily. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for such a deep dive. If you want to come out of screen share so you can see us again, we can have a bit of our conversation. That would be awesome. What we're going to begin with is a Kahoot quiz. So we're going to test some understanding, have some fun for bragging rights on Jaguars, and then we are going to head to Ms. Mirza's class first for our questions. We dive in with our Q&A. YouTubers, please do share your questions in the chat as well. We'd love to hear from you. But for those who are new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get. And again, what you win is everlasting respect of Lily and I. So we're going to get underway. You guys learned an awful lot. That was one of the biggest deep dives into an animal we have ever done in the history of exploring by the seat of your pants. So that was very, very special. All right, let's get underway and see. Question number 1. All right. 3, 2, 1. And Lily, if you want to help us out with hints, you can too. All right. The Pantanal is the world's largest wetland. What country is most of it in? So we started this broadcast. Where is Lily joining from? Is she in Brazil, Panama, Vietnam, or Kenya? All over the world, different answers. I hope most of you get this right. We talked about South America. We showed a picture of what the country looks like. Yes, Brazil, absolutely. You guys nailed that one. One of the most special places on planet Earth. Fabulous Lemming has our lead. Question 2. Let's head to jaguars are the biggest cat in the Americas. How big can they get? Can they get to be 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 200 pounds, or 1,000 pounds? What do we think? Maybe not the smallest, maybe not the biggest. What do we got in there? They're not the biggest cat in the world, but as Lily said, they're the biggest cat in South America. And yes, 200 plus pounds is the biggest that they get. So they're bigger than the average person and a lot toothier, much bigger teeth. All right. Good job, everyone. Let's see what that does. Fabulous Lemming keeps our lead. Question 3, true or false? Some jaguars hunt caimans, which are kind of like crocodiles. Is this true or false? And I will say, Lily, this is one of my favorite bits of footage in any nature documentary ever, was this happening. That could be your hint, kids, with 8 seconds to go. But to see a big cat on the shore leap into the water and catch a caiman and drag it up into the bush. Yes, it's true, and it's amazing. Super, super cool, and good job, everybody. All right, Fabulous Lemming has been leading wire to wire as we go to question 4. True or false? The jaguar is an umbrella species, so protecting it helps other species. Is it true? If we help jaguars, do we help the rest of the forest and the wetland? Probably yes. I don't know. Never in a species. Would we be doing a program on a species that didn't really matter if we protected it? No. The answer is, of course, true. Let's see. How many of you got this? Yes. Way to go, everybody. All right. Let's to our podium. And then Miss Mears' class, we're coming to you first for questions, so please do share. Get ready to come up and share. Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Hancock, we're coming to you right after. Mighty Buffalo is second. First for all the marbles by 10 points. Wow. Is knowing wallaby. Oh, our final answer changes the leaderboard. How crazy is that? Very, very cool. All right.
Well done, everybody.
Well done. We are going to head to Miss Mears' class now. Come on in, folks, and take us away with a question. Hi, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yes.
Yep.
How do you get the collar on?
Sorry?
How do you guys get the collar on the Jaguar?
Oh, yeah. How do you
Great.
get the collar on?
Great question, my friend. Remember that I said that they are habituated, which means that they accept our vehicles. So we always have a veterinary with us. This veterinary has access to the right amount of drugs, which means the sedation that they're gonna apply on them. We have a dart, okay, on a pressure device. They sleep under this anesthesia. And then we fit the collar on their neck. And remember, the collar is like a belt. We need to put in exactly the size of the head. A little bit loose because they can gain weight, and never too loose, otherwise they're going to drop. But they are always sleeping.
We do this with a lot of animals. We've talked about this with polar bears before, tigers, and other broadcasts. So collaring is actually a fairly common technique now in animals around the world.
Yes.
But I always love when we get that question. Thanks, guys. All right, Carsonville, Mrs. Fisher's class, come on in for another. Hey.
How do cats jump?
Ooh. How do they jump, Lily?
Jump?
Yeah.
With their feet. they got great muscles, my friend. They got great muscles, especially in the back, and they are the best.
Very, very cool. Thanks, Mrs. Fisher's class. All right, Mr. Hancock, Georgetown, come on in. Hey.
One of our students was wondering, once the mom has the babies and the babies leave, what does the mom do after that when they left?
Ooh.
You know what, my friend? She's gonna have another baby because that's their job. You know, they're always looking for become mom. A female mom can have more than 15 cubs in the adult life.
Very, very cool. And we hope for that to happen, that there are more Jaguars in the Pantanal and everywhere else.
More Jaguars.
Great query, Mr. Hancock. All right, 2 from YouTube, and then we're going to do another round with questions. Miss Riddle's class wanted to know, how many Jaguars have you seen in person, Lily? No pressure.
Wow, I never count, my friend. I never count, but definitely more than 40 Jaguars. Definitely, like without shadow of doubt. And they are completely different from each other. You saw the pictures, right? They're super different.
I want to stress, so I've been to East Africa and seen lions, and when you go there, there are lions everywhere. Like, you can't go 10 feet without seeing a lion. But Jaguars, I'd always heard, were really, really hard to see. So the fact that Lily has seen 40 and that their tours regularly find them is really quite magnificent, and I'm so glad we got that question. Very cool.
Cool,
all right.
Thank you.
Caesar in Nicaragua wants to know, how good is Jaguars' eyesight compared to people's eyesight?
Great, actually. Super great, especially if it's dark. They have special cells. We do have the same special cells, but we have in a very, very low number. They have in very high numbers. So during the daylight, they don't have as many vantage as us, but during the nighttime, they can basically see in the dark.
Yeah, how cool is that? I wish I could see in the dark. That would be a good superpower to have.
Can you imagine that?
All right, we're going to head back to our live classes. Miss Mears' class, if you want to come up for a second one, come on up and take us away. Hey, Viola Desmond.
So what is it? So how do you do your first attempt of habituation?
How we practice habituation? Sorry.
Your first habituation, like
great question. Great
like
question.
Wild animals, your first attempt of habituation.
Great question. The first habituation is always super, super tricky. We need to be very, very patient. We don't never get close. We start observing the jaguar for about 80 meters away, you know, super far. We have to use the binoculars because they are not trust on us already. They still found human being species as a suspicious species, so they're not comfortable. So the first habituation is always super hard and needs to be done very, 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 very slow and patiently. So basically, we stop the vehicle very, very far, observe only by the binoculars. We do several notes, and then we do things like or we cough. We do like these kind of sounds so the Jaguar can like, what's going on? And then we turn on the vehicle and then we stop the vehicle. So they start to get used to this kind of sound and movements. And then we get closer, but super, super slow. So, I mean, if you are 80 meters, you go to 70 meters and then to 60 meters. And that's the way to gain their trust. Very, very slow. Great question, my friend.
What a great and thoughtful question. What a cool answer. We've never had that one in the history of exploring by the seat of your pants. So thank you for that, guys.
Think twice before do in the woods, Jess.
Yeah, will do. Mrs. Fisher's class, we're going to head back to you now. Come on up. Hey.
How old can jaguars get?
Ooh.
Great question, my friend. Nobody ever follow a jaguar in the wild from the moment that they were born until the way that they dead by age. Nobody ever done that before. But probably we're gonna be the first institution that we're gonna follow a jaguar since the day that they were born until the day that they passed by old. But we believe that things, might happen with jaguars until 15 years old at the top. We do have a very old jaguar here that we believe that has about 16 years old. Her name is Flower. It's Flor in Portuguese. And she's an old lady, but she's still alive and kicking. So probably around 15, 16 years old.
Wild, though. And I always like to stress this for students because I think a lot of students, when I was a boy, I thought that a lot of animals lived as long as people live. And people are one of the oldest animals in the world. Like, we live longer than almost anything. So 15 is pretty standard for something about a jaguar size. And I love when we get to highlight that. So thanks, guys.
For sure. Especially because they spend a lot of energy. They're always doing something. So, yes.
Fighting and jumping and all sorts of stuff. Hunting caiman. Yeah. We're going to take one more from YouTube, and then we'll wrap up with Mr. Hancock's class. Time flies and you're having fun, but I hope many of you will tune in on YouTube or live for our taper program right after this.
Yeah, don't miss the presentation. I saw it's amazing. It's amazing. Stay there.
Miss Riddle's class wants to know, how do you stay safe around them? When you're out in the field, when you're out with people, is there any dangers that you face, or do you know what you're doing and it's no risk at all?
That's the beauty of the jaguars. People think that they are very, very danger creature and they want to jump on our neck. And it's actually not. They are only one species in the forest. The same way that a bug is a species, the same way that a frog is a species. They are only one species. And they're not having any competition with us human beings. So we are 100% safe here. And obviously, we follow protocols. And most important, we do everything in a very respectful way. That's the secrets.
Yeah, that's true of, again, every animal and every person that works with animals that we feature at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So much respect goes into the animal. You're very unlikely to ever be in a situation where an animal is going to hurt you. If you respect it, give it that space, make sure it's comfortable with your presence, back off if you sense that there's something going a little awry. These are messages for any creature on planet Earth, including where you are. So I love when we get this question. Thanks, guys.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Lily, this has been so much fun. We've done such a deep dive. We had so many great questions. Classes, if you have extra Jaguar questions, please email them to me at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. I'll pass them along to Lily. But before we wrap up and say farewell, we'll bring in Mr. Hancock for one more great question.
Yeah, cool.
I've never heard of habituating before. It sounds almost like domestication. Does it affect their survival skills at all, having humans so close?
Great question. Great question. That's the beauty of habituation, my friend. It's a neutral relationship. When you are domesticating an animal, you work with positive reinforcements. So if you are domesticating your dog, for instance, you're gonna present positive reinforcements, and they're gonna learn faster. With habituation, there's no reinforcements, either positive or negative. So it's a completely neutral relationship, which means that they learn how to recognize our vehicles. They learn that they learn to look at us and say, these guys, I know they're not a threat, but they are not curious toward us. They don't want anything with us, and they don't attack us. So that's the difference between habituation and domestication. We don't have any physical contact with them. Although I know them and I know their difference, they're still wild. They're still in the woods. And again, it's basically utopic relationship, that we have with them, and neutral.
Yep. I love that nuance. And you'll see this in safaris all over the world and East Africa as well. Like they're not going out and throwing a chunk of meat for the animals. So that the animals
No, this is forbidden.
That will never, ever happen. Like that's totally illegal in pretty much everywhere in the world. And for good reason, because you don't want to develop that sort of relationship with the animals. It's very important that they stay wild. So Mr. Hancock, great question to wrap us up. Lily, before we bring in our classes to say thank you and farewell, is there any final message you want to leave us with about Jaguars, about your work before we say goodbye?
No, keep being curious. I love your class. I love the participation of everybody. I love the curiosity that you have. And please keep protecting all the living creature, not only jaguars, but all the living creature. We are nothing without them.
No better message than that, Lily. Thank you so much for joining us. And what we do to wrap up every broadcast, I'm going to bring in Mrs. Fisher's class, Mr. Hancock's class. Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye, bye, bye.